Hey everybody, how we doing today? Mark Lozano here, Christ Center Capital. We're here with another video. We got a couple of asset reviews from our moral screening process. So for those of you out there that are not familiar with what Christ Center Capital, aka C3, does, we are a moral underwriter of investments, specifically for the Christian worldview. So we are going into all different kinds of assets, cryptos, stocks, ETFs, alternatives, and everything else in between. And we are seeing what the market recommends, and then we're taking those timely assets and we're putting them through a moral screening process to see are they aligned with or opposed to your Christian values. So, we didn't do a video last week. So now we have actually 6 assets to run through really quick because every single Wednesday in the Christ Center Capital newsletter, you get 3 new assets that the market is recommending that we have put through a screening process, right? So we don't really dictate what these assets are. We let the market give them to us, and then sometimes they all get bad moral ratings. Sometimes they get good moral ratings. Sometimes there's a mixed bag, right? So going back to our original review that we missed last week, we had 3 assets come up there. I'm going to run through them really fast. So we had Pool Corp, ticker POOL. It's obviously a stock. We have Darden Restaurants, ticker DRI. And then we had an old timely favorite, Bitcoin, right? So, really quick, out of those 3 assets, one got a negative review. So again, for those who are not familiar, we rate our assets through a color coding system. We have gold assets, they pass that moral screening process with somewhat flying colors. Purple assets, they barely pass by the skin of their teeth, meaning they're not doing anything explicitly wrong like funding abortion or producing pornography or involved with child labor overseas or anything like that. But they're just not something that us here at C3 feel comfortable recommending to our audience, right? And then we have the red assets, which is unfortunately the majority of the things that come across our desk get a red rating, and those are assets who have failed our moral screening process. Out of the 3 that I just mentioned that was in our report last week, we have only one red asset. That's the Darden Restaurants. So Darden Restaurants, again, ticker DRI, got a negative review because of their support of the Equality Act. Whenever you support transgender legislation, that's kind of an automatic downgrade, red rating on our C3 screening process. But not only that, they're a member of the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, and they are donors to Planned Parenthood, which is an automatic red rating as well via a couple United Way donations. So that's why Darden Restaurants got that negative rating. One of the reasons why the market is actually recommending them right now is because consumers are at the moment we're getting hit by inflation, but it seems that we're still wanting to go out to eat. We're still buying name brands, uh, meaning we're not exactly in the dire straits right now. And Darden Restaurants, they own everything from Longhorn, Olive Garden, Cheddar's, Yale, was it Yale House, Yard House, Red Lobster. So a lot of staples chain restaurants that are still performing somewhat well, probably due to like deals they can offer and the employment that they're able to actually bring in and everything. So Darden Restaurants is being recommended right now by the market, but they received that red rating. The other stock from last week was Pool Corp. Pool Corp, and you can see my eyes darting. I'm reading from a bunch of different monitors right now. But Pool Corp is this wholesale distributor of, you guessed it, pools, like pool equipment and accessories. And we can probably imagine why they're doing well right now because the whole world is in the U.S. and everything is in a bit of a heat wave right now. So where a lot of people are revamping their pools, redoing their pools, putting pools in, and it's pretty much a no-brainer of why the market was recommending Pool Corp. They got a purple rating just because they don't do anything bad. They're not participating in any of those red flag issues that we always talk about: abortion, pornography, bad politicians, child labor, all that stuff. The only reason they do not get a gold rating is because it's a tough moral argument to say pools contribute to the common good. People can make that argument, community and everything like that, but unlike an energy company or a transportation company, it's really tough for us to say, oh, pools are for the common good. So we try to reserve those gold ratings for companies that are producing a service or product that is literally for the common good from the Christian ethics perspective. Bitcoin, we're always talking about Bitcoin. Um, it's kind of the major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum have kind of leveled off and held at that. Ethereum's held at that 1,000 to 1,200 range. Bitcoin's keeps hovering around the 20,000 all the way as high as to the 22,000 range. So we think we've seen a bit of the bottom, and now we expect them to start climbing again. So that's why Bitcoin's being recommended. Bitcoin, as usual, is a mixed bag. They get a purple rating from us, which means they pass our moral screening process, but they're just not of the top tier. I mean, a lot of great arguments for Bitcoin of the decentralization and getting away from those corrupted government fiat currencies and all that good stuff. But then a lot of people have a lot of ethical issues with them as well, along in regards to the amount of energy it takes to mine the Bitcoin. But that's usually the case with all new technology. It takes a lot of energy until we figure it out. Moving on to this week's report. So we had three stocks come up in this week's report, and we kind of had a bonus ETF. The three stocks that came up, I'm going to be really quick with these because you can go to the website, check them out, and if you're not part of the newsletter, go sign up for the newsletter. Everything Christ Center Capital does is completely free just because we want you to be as informed of an investor as possible. Right? We do all the stock picking, we do all the investment recommendations, we do all the moral underwriting process for these assets completely free, so you as a Christian investor can be a better and more informed investor and therefore an active investor, right? It's a really big keyword, buzzword for us here at C3, active investing. So Diamondback Energy, ticker FANG, they are a really innovative energy company, oil and gas company based in Texas. They've actually made it into our report one or two times before. They are one of our very few gold rated companies. Not meaning that they're donating to pregnancy crisis centers or their whole leadership consists of church elders or anything like that. It is just a FANG, Diamondback Energy. They do what they do well, and they don't participate in the nonsense, and what they are producing is for the common good by our argument, right? So Diamondback Energy, one of the few that made it into our report, and they're being recommended just because, I mean, if you can't figure out why an energy company is being recommended or an oil and gas company is being recommended right now, then you're kind of living under a rock. I mean, energy company that has good financials and is innovative in the way that they produce and procure oil and gas. I mean, with the Russia war and with inflation and with the oil prices here in the States kind of going all erratic, though they have been coming down for I think 32 straight days at the time of this video, though they're still way up above their, what they were a year ago. So anyway, Diamondback Energy, one of the highly recommended ones. Skyworks Solutions, this is an American semiconductor company. They got a purple rating from us. Again, they're just a company. They do what they do well. They don't participate in a lot of the nonsense. The only reason they're not getting a gold rating is because the moral argument was really hard for us and our analysts to make, saying that the semiconductors that they produce, which is predominantly used in smartphones, is really a necessity for the common good because smartphones can do a lot now. They keep getting smarter and smarter, and Skyworks Solutions, they're one of the reasons why smartphones keep getting smarter and smarter because of the things, the technology they produce. And we're like, do smartphones really need to do all the things that they can do at the current moment in time? Probably not. But again, they get a purple rating. They passed our moral screening process. That's usually what people care about, the pass fail. And then our last one that made it into the report this week was Quest Diagnostics, ticker DGX. A lot of people are probably really familiar with Quest Diagnostics. They're integrated themselves into so many different hospitals, so many different healthcare avenues. They do testing for pregnant women. They do pregnancy testing. They do gene testing. They do esoteric testing. They do a lot of different stuff. They keep acquiring more and more market share. They're acquiring more, positions in major hospitals, and physicians are recommending them a lot higher to their patients to go get testing done. So it's really obvious why the market's recommending them right now. They don't pass, they get a red rating from us from the moral perspective because they are members of the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. They sponsor a couple different Pride parades and Pride festivals. They're very much gay pride oriented on their site, and they get a perfect score from the HRC Corporate Equality Index. And if you get a good score on the HRC, it usually means you get a bad score from C3, right? You get a good score on HRC means a bad score from Christ Center Capital because they're pretty much opposed in almost just about every category that you can think of. Now, we did have one bonus. The energy sector, that oil and gas and everything like that, has been being recommended so much lately. And people are always recommending, our secular counterparts, influencers, and everything are always recommending energy, 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 energy. One thing that we don't like here at C3 are ETFs because it's a mixed bag. You're not really participating with any of those companies. It's ETFs are passive investing by our definition of it. If you're interested in how we are defining passive and active investing, please go to Christ Center Capital, look that up. We'll have some good explanations for you. I won't get into it here. I think there's been some videos done on it. But the one ETF that we said is not terrible, we can feel somewhat good about putting it on our site, though we're not actively recommending it, is the MLPX. All right, that is the Global X MLP and Energy Infrastructure ETF. A lot of really really big players in the energy sector in this ETF, and none of them turn up any crazy red flags. No one's big supporters of Planned Parenthood. Obviously, our energy companies are not producing pornography. They're not involved in a lot of crazy lawsuits overseas with their mining practices. So that's all good stuff. So that's why we were like, if we have to recommend an ETF, because some people really want those in the energy world, the MLPX was one that we were like, okay, we can put this forth because it has good financials and it's not completely egregious when it comes to that moral side of things. Again, though, C3, we really don't like ETFs here. The ETFs are great financially, but from a moral perspective, from a Christian ethics perspective, they're not the best. So that's the two reports all rolled up into one video. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Please go over to Christ Center Capital, show us some support, show us some love, sign up for that newsletter. We'd really appreciate it. And with all that, God bless and thank you.